Thank you, everybody, for your patience, for being here tonight. House Republicans just concluded a very productive and respectful conference meeting. Members from all across the conference shared their support for this important bill, and they shared their support for Speaker McCarthy's strong and effective leadership. This is a win for the American people and future generations. Last November, the American people sent a message strongly that they did not support the failed policies and reckless spending of single-party Democrat rule. The country entrusted House Republicans with our vision of a commitment to America to deliver results and rein in out-of-control spending, causing crippling inflation. The Fiscal Responsibility Act is a historic step to restoring fiscal sanity and holding Washington accountable. This will be the largest deficit reduction in history. For the first time in a decade, spending year over year will be cut while still providing critical funding for veterans and national defense. This deal claws back tens of billions in unspent COVID funds, the largest rescission combined in the history of Congress. And this deal will lift millions of Americans out of poverty by strengthening work requirements. Since earning the majority, House Republicans have been underestimated by the media every day. We've been underestimated by the media this week, but we will be tireless in keeping our promises and delivering results for the American people. And as we do every week, we're going to highlight a freshman, and I'm pleased to introduce Derek Van Orden from Wisconsin.
Thank you. The world's oldest freshman. Hey, there's a lot of talk about what is not in this bill. I want to tell you what's in this bill and what it does. It protects the people that built this nation. Those are our seniors. It protects the people that defended this nation. Those are our veterans. And it defends the people that feed this nation. Those are our farmers, making sure that biofuels are still in here and they're protected because that can be the future of American energy. It also protects the people who are most in need, the folks that get SNAP benefits. And I'm on that committee on purpose because I was raised in a broken home on welfare. So what of those four provisions are negative? None of them. This is a heck of a good bill. It's a win for the American people, and I'm incredibly proud to support it. And with that, I'd like to introduce my friend, Chairman Patrick McKinnon.
Hi. Hi. Well, thank both of you for having me. It's great to be here. Look, the fiscal Internet, thank you so much for joining. As the team here knows, I've been looking for somebody my size. So look, it's been a long 2 weeks in negotiations, and thank you all. You at least get chairs down here rather than the hard floor upstairs. Look, the Fiscal Responsibility Act is the largest deficit reduction package in American history. It has the largest rescission package in American history. And in a progressive left administration and a Democrat Senate, we will now have a new work requirement for TANF and SNAP, for SNAP. We'll have reforms for the TANF program. These are important reforms so that people can get back in the workforce and understand the value of work. Furthermore, we have permitting reform that will help America harvest our energy resources here at home and be able to build things faster and cheaper and more quickly. Faster, cheaper, more quickly. One of those two I could have just put together quickly, but I decided to use two words because I'm trying to keep you here later. That two is supposed to be funny, but it's not. It's been a long 2 weeks. My apologies. Two additional items. We have administrative pay-go, which says to the administration that if you want to put in new policy regulations, you have to repeal administration action of equal size or greater size. And finally, we have now an appropriations process that can work and incentives to make it work, to change the way we operate here in Washington. We have conservative reforms that are included in this debt ceiling, and these things should help Republicans rally to the cause. And with that, I get to introduce my friend and the majority leader, our great friend, Steve Scalise.
Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate your work. Look, there's been a lot of hard work and a lot of late nights that have gone into changing the spending trajectory in this town that has brought us to this point where we've got over $31 trillion in debt. And tonight is no different. You see how late it is? The work's not going to stop for a long time. There's a lot of work that needs to continue to go into fixing all of the problems that President Biden has created. You see inflation through the roof. You see the struggles that hardworking families are experiencing because Washington went on a multi-trillion-dollar spending binge over the last 2 years. And Joe Biden didn't want that spending binge to end. But the American people had a different idea when they elected a House Republican majority committed to finally getting spending under control in Washington. And that's what this bill is about. You know, something you haven't seen in a long time in this town is that when a major bill comes to the floor, we actually give our members time to read the bill before you vote on it. We have a 72-hour minimum that we allow every member to read the bill. And the more that people read in this bill, the more they find in terms of real conservative victories that are going to help us get spending under control and get our economy back on track. And you have to do both. You will never get to a balanced budget unless you do two major things. One is control Washington's spending obsession, but also you've got to help get people back to work. You've got to help get the economy moving again. And there are a number of pieces in this bill that never would have existed if Nancy Pelosi was still Speaker of the House. Everybody knows that if we were at this point today and Republicans were in the minority in the House, all that you would be wondering about is how much more spending was Washington going to do over current year. How many more taxes are hardworking families going to have to pay? Because guess what? Joe Biden wanted more taxes in this package, and Speaker McCarthy insisted not a dime in new taxes would be in this bill or any other bill that comes out of this House majority. And that's made crystal clear in this legislation. We restart the student loan paybacks. That's a $60 billion windfall for all of those families who actually do pay their bills, for those families that didn't go to college, or especially for those families who went to college and took out student loans and paid them back, and think it's fair that everyone else has to do the same thing they did. And it wouldn't be fair if some hardworking single mom working 2 jobs right now has to pay so that somebody who took out a student loan and is sitting at his parents' house right now, making $35,000 a year not working, she has to pay his loan back. That wouldn't be fair. And you know what else we do? We put work requirements in place. Something we haven't seen in a long time. Something, by the way, that was an originated idea back when Joe Biden was a senator and he voted for it when Bill Clinton was president, working with a Republican majority. Something that helped get people out of poverty and back into the workforce. Paying into programs like Social Security that are going bankrupt under Joe Biden's spending binge, but because people will be working again. That is going to help us shore up Social Security. So this bill does all of those things and more. Real spending cuts, real reforms, permitting reforms that allow us to build roads and bridges again. Why should it take 10 years to build a road project where sometimes if a group that just wants to kill a project, you can go through all the environmental reviews, and there might be 5 different agencies that are looking at your permit, and as soon as they file lawsuits and block one area, you succeed a year and a half later, and they go file another lawsuit, and it's another year and a half. And finally, eventually, people just give up, and they stop building things in America. Well, we create a one-stop shop in this bill so that you still have to follow all the rules, but it's not gamed. You can't go from agency to agency to try to stop a project. You only go to one place, and there's shot clocks on the federal agencies. Anybody who's ever tried to build something in America, if a federal agency asks you for information, they don't just say whenever you get around to doing it, send us the information. They give you a shot clock. And if you don't meet that deadline, you're going to get fined or you're surely not going to get your permit. And yet you give them that information and you might wait 6 months or a year longer to hear back from the federal agency. Shouldn't the federal agency have the same shot clock that you, the taxpayer, have? We put that in this bill too. So again, there are a lot of really important reforms that are in this package, something that I think everybody has been waiting a long time to see from Washington. Not how much more is Washington going to spend, but for once in a long, long time, Washington is actually going to spend less money next year than it is this year. And that's a reform that all of us can support. So, all right, with that, why don't we take some questions? Yeah.
The CBO estimates that the SNAP provisions would actually expand the eligibility for SNAP recipients under this bill. So how can Republicans still claim this as victory and claim that it would reduce dependency?
Well, there's a number of things that are done both in SNAP and TANF to limit who's eligible to, if you look at some of the states that have gamed the system, and by the way, there are a number of states who have gamed the system, we reduced their ability to do that. They were able to roll over from one year to the other, how many people they can exempt. That ends in this bill. So again, getting more people back to work is going to be the end result of this package, and more people paying in. Why don't we let the chairman of the Agriculture Committee, G.T. Thompson, talk about that too.
Thanks, Steve. Well, quite frankly, CBO's got their numbers wrong. They double counted individuals that there were new categories that were created, specifically veterans, the homeless, 18-year-olds that have been living in foster care. And I hope you're all aware of the tragic situation that happens there many times where a young person ages out, they put their life belongings in a garbage bag, and because it all fits there, and they go out to try to find a place in the world. And very frankly, those folks, most of those folks are already counted as eligible. So CBO basically, they scored this as a $2 billion cost, which is completely false. And not the first error the CBO has done. They most recently recognized in the Farm Bill baseline that was put out, they blew by $1 billion on related to cottonseed. And so I think the analysts, that's, I don't know what the variables were they were working with, but it's pretty obvious that they double counted here. When you think about SNAP employment and career and technical education, which has been a part of the farm bills going back into the 90s, that really provides folks a pathway to prosperity and out of poverty. And as I had mentioned in a previous meeting, they all gives people an opportunity to achieve what we all aspire to be, United States taxpayers. So at the end of the day, it's not just the investment there, but the return on investment as folks go from dependency on the government to, quite frankly, to realizing the American dream, which is dignity through work and all the financial benefits. So it is about food security, but it's also about financial security. And we have some other provisions within that that Patrick and Garrett and the Speaker and the team did a great job in terms of the waivers. The age, taking the age from age 49 to 54. Quite frankly, the percentage of waivers that states are able to apply, taking that from 12% to 8% is a huge savings, and it really doesn't impede helping people that are truly in need. It's just the efficiency. It's good government, and then I think one of the most important ones that has been agreed to in the deal that was put together was states have accrued without limit these waivers over many, many years. So hundreds of thousands, enough to cover everyone. Never have anybody have a shot at the American dream through exercising the SNAP employment and career and technical education. That baseline gets zeroed out in 2024. States will be issued waivers, but it'll be waivers for use that year. Those are just a few of the simple provisions that really are really important and meaningful.
The simple answer is the CBO got it wrong. These populations are already included in most states under the 12% cap that they currently have, which says even if they have all these current excluded populations that are not required to be in work or seeking work, they can have up to 12% of their population exempted. We reduced that number down to 8. We stopped the rollovers. Many states use the rollover authority to build up and accrue these balances that enable them to give full waivers for work requirements. We end that. That will be captured and more than sufficiently get people into work, even with the excluded populations that we've now added into this law.
Thank you for doing this, of course. So as the bill has now passed the Rules Committee, what's your message to some of your Republican colleagues who might be wanting to join Congressman Bishop's call to vacate Speaker McCarthy's leadership?
I don't think that that's where it's going. If you look at the meeting we just had, it was about a 2-hour-long conference, full conference, 3 hours. Yeah, everybody who had a question, we extended the time that you normally have, because normally our meetings are an hour, so everybody has some time to talk about an issue they might have a question to leadership. We extended that and let every single member that had a question to the negotiating team, to leadership, asked their questions, and we talked through a lot of the important issues. I will tell you, we went in, we've all been on the phones throughout the last few hours since text came out, or a few days since the text came out, as you're whipping a bill. I used to be the whip, as the speaker used to be the whip. That's why Tom Emmer's not here right now, because the whipping is still going on. But there were members this morning who were undecided, who had some very valid questions. We're getting them the information, and by tonight they came up and spoke and said that they're now going to vote for the bill. So I think you're going to continue to see that vote grow. That's what happens with any major bill.
And a quick
Yes, sir.
follow-up, if I may. I'm so sorry. So the White House, of course, the OMB Director Shalanda again today said that she would use the pay-go waiver authority if it's deemed necessary to protect President Biden's priorities and agenda. Do you have concerns about that?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Leader Scalise. Couple questions. One, what is your response to the criticisms that have come out of the House Freedom Caucus, such as the ability for the OMB director to waive the pay-go rule? And second, do you think the House vote is going to be as tight? Did you do a whip count in the conference? Do you have an idea of how many Republicans were supported?
happened as soon as the text was filed, and then, you continue to go through and call members and answer questions, and that's going on as we speak. That's nothing new. But, when you think about the things that are not in the bill, and I know some people want to just talk about what's not in the bill, or, what about this waiver? This is just the first step. Anybody who thinks this is the end of reforming Washington, for God's sake, we've been waiting for years to get a chance to finally turn the direction of this country around so that we can get away from this mentality that every year Washington thinks it could just keep printing money, spending money it doesn't have, raising taxes, creating new programs, and ultimately taking freedoms away from the American people. And that change starts with this bill. But it's the beginning, not the end. There's an appropriations process that we can't wait to get started in addressing some of the other problems that we want to deal with. This administration started this whole process, go back, when Speaker McCarthy first said, I want to sit down with the president and start talking about the debt ceiling, not in June or even May, but in January. And the White House said, no, we're not going to negotiate, period. Well, guess what? A lot of red lines. They said, we're not even going to talk about work requirements. Work requirements in the bill. We negotiated a lot of these points. Now we're going to start the appropriations process after this, not to get ahead of ourselves, but we've been having these conversations already about the next steps that need to happen. This is going to be an ongoing process, this whole 2-year cycle, until we finally get a president who actually cares about getting control over spending and getting our economy turned around and addressing the inflation that's crushing so many families across this country. So this is just getting started.
Thank you.
Can you help us understand the side deals that are not in the bill, specifically the IRS money, the $20 billion, all of those rescissions, and the veterans, protection of the veterans spending? What is the guarantee? What is the agreement? Is it on paper somewhere? And how can you be sure that appropriations chairs who weren't involved in this will do it?
Well, a lot of questions, so let me try to answer at least a few of those. First, we have caps at 886 for defense and 704 for non-defense. You've seen that. Underlying that 704 for non-defense, we've accepted the president's number on veterans. That's included in our agreement, and our appropriators know that, which builds back down to 583 for the cap for non-veterans, non-defense discretionary. Simple to write. So that's the number that appropriators have to work with. We also have a down payment in this package of a $1.4 billion rescission of the IRS. That takes away the full enforcement budget for this fiscal year. That's the down payment to say you can't hire any new IRS agents. We bank that and book it in this deal. And then we have a pledge from the administration they'll be willing to take $10 billion of cuts this coming fiscal year from IRS, and 10 the following year. That's what they've already pre-agreed to. Those are the understandings that we've conveyed to the Appropriations Committee. We've read in our side in the House on that arrangement, and then we'll give the Appropriations Committee full authority to write 302Bs to their fulfillment.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see y'all, I'll come over and talk to you, but we'll see y'all on the floor tomorrow. There's still a lot of work to do, just for the start.